Do you ever feel like you're too old to be starting over and to be confused and unsure, but also you're too young to be stuck? That's exactly how I feel. And I think that they've called this point the midlife crisis. And they're literally, especially in 2025, there is so much for a millennial to be in crisis about. There's the money, super important, the relationship. There's also like job confusion. That's how I feel. There's just so much to be confused about. And there's so much to be uncertain about. And for many of us, our lives are changing at a pace and in ways that we could not have possibly imagined 10 years ago when we were young, high, and turn in our 20s. I've been in a journey since my mother passed away 4 years ago to really figure out who am I, what do I want, and what am I even doing? And I saw this post that said, what if it is not actually a crisis? What if you are not having a midlife crisis? What if this is just you figuring out who you are, what you actually want, how you want your life to look, and what things you're going to get rid of or add to that life in order to make it fulfilling for you? And I think that it's really important to like reframe that story from being like, oh my God, I'm such a hot mess and I'm too old to be confused, to being like, yeah, that might not have been it. For me, I lost my mother 4 years ago, and losing her made me realize that I had no plan and no vision for my individual life because so much of my identity was wrapped up in being my mother's daughter. Literally, I had a sick parent, an ill parent who had been ill since I was in middle school or high school, and those illnesses continued to progress. So I already knew I was going to be my mother's caregiver, and that's the end of that. And when my mother passed away unexpectedly, I was, and still am, so lost. Like, if I am not my mother's daughter, and if I am not my mother's caregiver, and if I have no plan and no vision for what I want my individual life to look like, not what I want Cookie's daughter's life to look like, then who the fuck am I? You know, recencies of who the fuck did I marry? Sometimes the question really is like, who the fuck am I? And you really have to strip some things away in order to get an understanding about that. And that may include being like, I actually hate this job. Not only do I hate this job, I hate this field. I always wanted to be a butterfly catcher, and here I am, a surgeon. Maybe you can go pursue butterfly catching. It's a reframe. It's a rebirth. It's a renaissance. Words again. Maybe this is not a crisis. Maybe this is just an opportunity to explore and learn and grow. And going back to like what I said about my mother, I am still crafting what I want my life to look like because I had no vision for what I wanted my life to be. And now, especially since my mother passed away, I don't want to waste time doing things that I'm honestly not interested in. Again, according to like the American dream and the dream of my Southern raised, born and bred parents who were born in the early 50s, according to them, I am living the American dream. I've got my education. I'm successful. I make good money. And I am completely unfulfilled. I think many of us are. And I think that we've gone along to get along this entire time. And instead of it being a crisis, what we're really experiencing is a level of angst and anxiety because we're not living in our full truth and we are not in our happiness, in our zen, and in our flow. So with that said, I have always been a communicator. I have been a performing arts student since 4th grade. I've been a writer. I've been a speaker. I write for a few publications currently. I've done communications work like freelance and consulting. I've done community, like digital community engagement and management. I've worked on people's social media campaigns. I've done a lot of comms and media work on the side. I didn't know what to pursue, and I ended up pursuing social work. I didn't even know what a social worker was. And a semester into the program, I was like, this ain't it. And here we go, 12 years later, I'm still doing it. So now I just really want to take control of my life. I recognize with my mother passing, this thing doesn't last forever. And so I am transitioning back into myself. myself. I want to pivot my career from social work into a media-based role. So I really see myself as a media personality. I love to host conversations and have conversations, which is what we will do on this YouTube channel. I also enjoy writing. I would love to do some communications work for small brands and businesses. And so I want you to come along with me for that journey. Now, of course, while I'm building out my dreams and pivoting in my career and navigating my personal pivot in my midlife crisis, I'm also going to be looking cute. I like to share like beauty and like style, especially plus size fashion. So we'll be doing all of those things. If that's something that you're interested in, please come back along and come visit me and subscribe to this channel. I like to combine my clinical skills, knowledge, and experience because let's be very clear, I am qualified. I would like to combine that with just like my everyday homegirl knowledge, wisdom, and experience. I want to do that, and that's what we'll be doing. So thanks so much for joining me on my first YouTube. I'm so excited. Stay tuned for more. Thank you. Bye.